Hey, what's going on, fam? So this is another video talking about how the ADOS organization is becoming more and more unhinged. And basically what's happened is the two tweets you see up on your screen, they're merged tweets. One is a tweet from BishopTalbert Swan, and the other one is a tweet from, not a tweet, but a Facebook post from Yvette Carnell. And I'm going to explain a little bit why I'm merging these two tweets, but let's first of all talk about what's happening most recently that's showing the instability of the ADOS organization and how they're imploding and making enemies of everyone in the black community. Um, Basically, this started when Bishop Talbert Swan, who is a known um, anti-white supremacy activist. Now, I will admit, I've always looked at him a little bit sideways because he's A, part of the NAACP, and then B, that he also is a pastor of a church. And I have a little bit of a distrust for Christianity as a whole, as a religion, but many, both ADOS, so-called ADOS, and FBAs also have problems with it, and many of us are Christians. And if you're a Christian, that's your business. But I have a lot of issues with it, and I have reasons to believe it's a slave religion. You can disagree all you want, but that's how I personally feel. But that's not what this video is about. It's not about what I don't like or don't trust about Bishop Swan, because overall, even though I have those things that I don't agree with or I wouldn't be a part of that he is. Overall, I've seen nothing but pretty much positive things from him. He's pretty much always going in on white supremacy. Yeah, he kind of sounds like a borderline liberal a lot of times, which again is why I don't like people who associate themselves with the NCAA, NAACP, and stuff like that. But that again, that's a side note, because just because I don't always agree with somebody doesn't mean that they can't be defended when they're being attacked unfairly. So, and hell, I was defending Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore when I made the ADOS versus Pan Africanism videos. I made it clear then. You can go back and listen to the video if you want. It's still up. I don't delete the video because I'm not ashamed of it, even though the organization has totally gone left since then. They were pretending to be something else at that time. So I'm not ashamed of what I said at that time, because I still feel that way, especially about the lineage issues. I just don't feel that way about all the other stuff that ADOS has become since. Um, but anyway, I digress because I'm kind of rambling on a side note. So back to the point. What I was bringing that up for was to say that Yvette Carnell, even though I was saying back then that I didn't agree with everything Yvette Carnell says or does, I was still defending her because I felt like she deserved to be defended at that time. So it's the same thing with Bishop Swan. Just because I don't agree with everything he says or does doesn't mean that he doesn't have the right to be defended. That was my point. So anyway, Bishop Swan was on Tariq Nasheed's post about the Foundational Black American Conference, and he posted 3 fire emojis. And that led to some of the ADOS members who are stalking Tariq, because if you really were so much doing the work, you wouldn't be having time to hang around Tariq Nasheed's post who's not doing the work and policing everybody who might like his tweets. You would have more things to do with your time, because you should have a job. You should have, most of you have families or supposedly have families. Um, you also are doing all this activism and ADOS meeting work and educating the people and doing all this boots on the ground and meeting with politicians and fielding politicians, and half of y'all allegedly are campaign managers. So y'all do so much more work than us. So how you got time to be hanging around Tariq Nasheed's post policing everyone who agrees with something that he says? That's number one. Because the two don't jive. Because y'all do the work. Y'all do the work. But at the same time, you got time to sit up on Twitter all day and police people for putting fire emojis under Tariq Nasheed's tweet. So anyway, um, Bishop Swan put the fire emojis under Tariq Nasheed's Foundational Black American Conference post, and of course the ADOS police, they tried to issue a citation to Bishop Swan, because Bishop Swan had come out in support of the ADOS organization in the past, just like I have, because we probably both agreed with what they were pretending to be at that time before we knew that they were an unstable suicide down ballot organization. So because the ADOS police were able to issue a ticket to a citation to Bishop Swan for violating the cult doctrine of agreeing with Tariq Nasheed on anything or liking anything that Tariq Nasheed does. Because he had violated that cult doctrine, they came and issued him a citation. And Bishop Swan, because he's a grown man and he doesn't like being G checked, um, he basically pushed back and said, "Y'all leave me alone." But he still wasn't saying anything about Yvette and Tone. He was talking to these followers, these the police, their soldiers, for coming at him like that over the fact that he had put some fire emojis under Tariq Nasheed's tweet. And instead of either ignoring the situation and staying out of it, or actually checking the people for trying to police Bishop Swan, then I'm talking about Yvette Carnell and Tony Moore. What the mature thing would have been to do was that, number one, the most mature thing to do would have been to check your policemen and your soldiers for running around trying to issue citations and G-check Bishop Swan over who he's putting fire emojis under and who he can like and who he can't like. Because all he said in response at first was, "Look, man, I'm not in y'all's beef. Please leave me out of it. I'm just liking the man's tweet because I think it's a good idea personally. I'm not in y'all's beef. I haven't said anything about ADOS. Please leave me out of it." That's what he was saying at first. And instead of Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore saying, "Hey, y'all need to leave Bishop Swan alone," um, just because every people are entitled to their own opinions. Obviously we don't approve of the conference, but if he does, that's his business. Hopefully he'll do some research on Tariq and find out what he's supporting. Instead of saying something along those lines, or at the very least, even if you're not going to come out and denounce the people who were checking Bishop Swan, at the very least, you could say nothing. And that's just ignore it. Just pretend it didn't happen. You're not in that. You're not going to get involved in that. They want to bother Bishop Swan. That's their business. You're too mature to get involved in that at all. That would have been the second best thing to do. But instead, the ADOS are a dunce, because I'm sorry. I tried to stay away from the ad hominems and the insults of this organization, but after seeing how they conducted themselves with Bishop Swan, along with all the double talk and excuses I get from the ADOS suicide organization, because nobody can explain some of the things coming out of that suicide down ballot movement to me, I've just lost all respect. And I've been ad hominem so much by ADOS members. I'm just going to start calling y'all what y'all are. So I'm sorry, kind of got off on another side rant there, but I've done my best to stay away from insulting the organization. But at this point, I don't care, because I've been insulted by so many members of that organization, lied on by so many members of that organization, and I see so much deception and double talk and hypocrisy. I'm not holding back anymore. So they're the A Dunce organization. But anyway, um, instead of choosing one of the more mature options, the A Dunce organization chose door number 3, and that was to attack and double down on the citation that was issued to Bishop Swan. And that's why you see the tweet, the tweet combination, or the social media post combination that you see up on your screen. And that is Bishop Swan saying, "So now you're going to assert that liking a tweet is tantamount to co-signing unknown things about someone's personal life. So you must do a background check on everyone's tweets who you're liking and retweeting, right? You really want to go here with me, Yvette?" And that was a great response by Bishop Swan to me, because just like Yvette doesn't know the histories of every single person she's retweeted, because some of her followers who I know that she's retweeted have husbands who are drug dealers, who are destructive to the community. So we don't want to go there, Yvette, because you don't know the real life behind half the people that you've retweeted. And you've retweeted Tariq in the past, Yvette. You've agreed with Tariq in the past. You were fine with Tariq in the past. So were you co-signing everything that Tariq has ever said or done since you were okay with him and cool with him in the past? Huh? Are, are you co-signing everything Tariq Nasheed has ever said or done since Bishop Swan is, because he co-signed his conference flyer? Because what they did was, they knew they couldn't justify issuing a citation to Bishop Swan for violating the cult doctrine of ADOS, because what apparently we don't know is that whenever you support the ADOS movement, or if you supported it at any point in the past, that automatically makes you an ADOS cult member. Because once you start beefing with the organization, the first thing they do is start bringing up how you used to support it. So when you may not even realize it, and that's, I guess, what happened to Bishop Swan, because he had tweets where he was supporting the ADOS organization in the past. He didn't realize that he was inducted into the organization, and therefore he was under their doctrine, and that he was violating a doctrine of supporting Tariq Nasheed, because Tariq Nasheed has been banished within the cult doctrine. Support of Tariq Nasheed has been banished within the cult doctrine. So Bishop Swan violated. And instead of just accepting his citation like a man, and accepting his ticket like a man, and going to Yvette and Tone and begging for forgiveness, instead of begging them for forgiveness like he should have, he had the audacity to push back when the ADOS police issued him a citation. He had the audacity to resist arrest. So because Bishop Swan resisted arrest from the ADOS cult, the A-Dunce leaders decided to double down on his charges, and started bringing up the fact that the reason why you can't support Tariq is, like I was saying, because they can't really admit to the fact that the reason was that he violated the cult doctrine, and because they don't like Tariq, he's therefore obligated to not like Tariq either. Because they could not admit that that was the real reason, they had to then come up with the fake outrage of, oh, this Tariq said this and that about single mothers in the past. Now, let me say this about Tariq. I've already made more than one video coming out disagreeing with what things Tariq said. I most recently came out with the video disagreeing and denouncing the things that both Jason Black and Tariq Nasheed have said about single mothers in the past. All right. I've recently done that. So I've already cut, because I know the ADOS cult members, first of all, they can't fathom, because they were doing that to me also. When I was calling them out for the way they were treating Bishop Swan, they started bringing up to me what Tariq said in the past. And you can't do that to me, not me personally. I don't know about other people who call themselves FBA, but you can't do that to me, because I've already come out denouncing what Tariq said. It's up on my channel. The proof is on my channel. Because I know y'all can't, y'all thought that was a weapon to use against someone like me, because you can't fathom not being a cult member, and you can't fathom disagreeing with your leader. So because you can't disagree with Yvette and Tone, you think it's impossible for me to disagree with anything Tariq Nasheed has said, and so you think you're gonna stump me or corner me by bringing up the things that Tariq Nasheed has said about single mothers. And now they're bringing up some new stuff that apparently Tariq said men can't handle cash reparations. Look, y'all got more Tariq archives than any Tariq fan. Y'all, because I've never even heard or seen him say that. I knew about the single mother thing before the ADOS movement started bringing it up, but they're talking about something where Tariq said men can't handle cash. If he said it, it was probably a lot like the single mother thing, where he's grown since then. But yeah, I just got to give y'all props, because y'all are his biggest fans. Y'all done looked up every single word Tariq Nasheed has ever said. But nonetheless, I was saying that y'all can't bring up his single mother comments to me, because I know y'all can't fathom what it's like to not be to not be so dedicated to your leaders that you can't find an issue with them, and you can't critique them about anything. But then again, I know that you guys can't disagree with your leaders, because they'll block you if you disagree with them, because that's what they've done to half of the people who used to follow them, and half of the people who still are defending them now will admit that they're already blocked by Yvette and Tone, but they still defend them. So they know that you can't disagree over there. You can't say nothing against what they believe over there, or otherwise you're instantly blocked because they're all about retaining the cult mindset and they can't have dissenting opinions. So I know y'all can't fathom um, disagreeing with your leader. So that's why you thought you could bring up what Tariq has said to me, but or bring up what Tariq has said in the past and bring it up to me. But I've already denounced that, so that don't faze me. But since we are going to do this fake outrage, and I was bringing that up to say, not only are there followers running around doing it, but also Yvette and Tone are running around doing it. That's why, like I said, because they could not admit to the fact that the real reason why they were checking Bishop Swan was because he had violated a cult doctrine. They had to come up with the fake outrage of, oh, you're supporting a man who said single mothers raise B word N words. And the reason why I'm censoring myself is because I don't want to give anybody any excuse to have my video taken down by saying I use racial slurs or profanity. So because Tariq said single mothers raise B word N words and single mothers don't deserve reparations, and another word for B word N word, if you're not getting it, if you're kind of slow, is just think effeminate or weak males. That's another term for B word N word. All right, if you're still not getting it, the censored version would be effeminate or weak males. Okay, non-masculine men, non-courageous men, cowardly men, whatever you want to call it, homosexual men, whatever. But that's what the slur is referring to. Um, so Yvette Carnell, because they have to find another fake outrage excuse because they can't admit that Bishop Swan violated cult doctrine, they had to say, "Oh, you're endorsing a man who said this about a single mothers, that single mothers don't deserve reparations and single mothers raise B word N words." And Bishop Swan, like I said, he gave the perfect response. He's like, "Look, I don't know everything Tariq has ever," and it's just like I was saying when I was kind of going off explaining my situation and how I've addressed Tariq's the situation about what Tariq has said. But Bishop Swan was basically saying something very similar. Look, I don't know everything Tariq has said. Do y'all know everything about every single person you retweet? Do y'all know every single thing about? Did y'all know everything? Did y'all know all this about Tariq when you were cool with him and co-signing him, just like he was co-signing you? Did y'all know all this about Tariq then? And why didn't you denounce him then? Why did you even let him hang around then? Huh? Oh, maybe because you needed the clout. Because if you did know about it back then, that means that you just needed the clout, and now you don't. You feel like you got the clout from him. Otherwise, why didn't you denounce him then? Why didn't you denounce him then? Why didn't you say, hey, Tariq is not associated with us. We don't agree with the things Tariq has said. Why didn't y'all say that then? As a matter of fact, I've seen tweets where it was brought up to you months before you actually fell out with Tariq. So you should have fell out with Tariq months before you did if you didn't know about it then. Because that's not what you fell out with Tariq for. You did not fall out with Tariq because of what he said about single mothers. You fell out with him because you thought he might be supporting Trump. So that's hypocrisy number one, and that's what Bishop Swan was saying. Yvette, do you background check everyone whose tweets you like or retweet? That's number one. But number two, since we are going to hold people's past words over their heads like an albatross, let's read Yvette Carnell's past words, and that's where the second part of this, what you see up on your screen, comes in. Yvette Carnell. Sorry, Ta-Nehisi Coates, but the NAACP's reparation plan looks exactly like what Bernie Sanders is supporting. African Americans are owed a debt, but the question being asked now is what form of payment should we seek? A material benefit is a material benefit, whether you call it reparations or redistribution. Coates seems more interested in the cathartic effect of getting a reparations check rather than the long-term benefit of massive redistribution from the top to the bottom. That isn't a failure of Bernie Sanders or the liberal imagination. This isn't a failure of imagination at all. It's failure to do basic math. So let me read that again, because this is back in 2016 when Bernie Sanders was saying that reparations aren't feasible and no to reparations. This is back then, not when Bernie Sanders has done a slight upgrade to HR 40 support, which is still not support of reparations. This is back when Bernie Sanders was saying straight up, no, hell no. This is back then. The timestamp is on the post. This is February 3rd, 2016. This is back when Bernie Sanders was saying not only no, but hell no to reparations. So let's go back and read that one more time, because Yvette is so stuck on what Tariq has said in the past, which I'm pretty sure that was at least as old as Yvette when she was supporting, at least as old or as long ago as when Yvette was supporting Bernie Sanders, if not longer ago than when Yvette was supporting Bernie Sanders. So since people don't change, and since we're going to hang people's words over their heads and use people's words as fake outrage to G-check other people and make them fall in line with our cult doctrine. Since we're going to do that, let's reread what Yvette Carnell said. So Yvette Carnell said, African Americans are owed a debt. But the question being asked is what, and no, let's start from the top. So the NAACP's reparation plan looked exactly like what Bernie Sanders is supporting. So Yvette Carnell is basically saying that Bernie Sanders was supporting reparations in 2016 when he was clearly saying that he was not. As a matter of fact, in 2019, he was saying he don't know what reparations is. It wasn't until he got some pressure that he switched up to HR 40. Remember when Bernie was saying, I don't know what reparation is. It depends on what you mean by reparations. I don't understand. Y'all remember that? Y'all remember that, right? So that was in 2019. So Bernie Sanders was damn sure not supporting reparations in 2016. So what is Yvette Carnell saying when she says Bernie Sanders' non-existent reparations plan is exactly like the NAACP's reparations plan? Oh, what she's saying is that Bernie Sanders' people of color, poor people policies were going to benefit everybody and it's going to trickle down to you. She's saying that is the same thing as reparations. So let's read it again to further see it. African Americans are owed a debt. But the question being asked now is, what form of payment should we seek? A material benefit is a material benefit. So what she's saying is that a benefit is a benefit. Because she's saying that Bernie Sanders' quote unquote material benefit is a material benefit, just like a reparations check is a material benefit. That's what she's saying here. That's what she means by a material benefit is a material benefit. And to say she means anything else other than that is a lie. It is a straight up lie, and I'm not going to tolerate it. I'm just going to block you. I'm not going to argue with you about this because this is common sense. This is basic English comprehension. So I'm not going to argue with any ADOS trolls. You show up on this channel trying to tell me that that's not what she said, that's not what she meant, I'm just blocking you. So don't waste your time, because I'm going to delete your comment and block your ass. So any comment you make will have been a total waste of energy, ADOS troll. So what she's saying is that a material benefit from Bernie is just like a material benefit in the forms of a reparations check. A material benefit from Bernie's universal Medicare, a material benefit from Bernie's student loan forgiveness is a material benefit, just like a reparations check is a material benefit. That's what she's saying. A material benefit is a material benefit, regardless of whether you call it reparations or redistribution. So now she's saying that whoever comes up with it does not have to call it reparations. They can call it redistribution. Coates seems more interested in the cathartic effect of getting a reparations check rather than the long-term benefit of. So remember now, it has to be one or the other. So Coates is more interested in a reparations check over the long-term benefit of massive redistribution from the top to the bottom. This is more vague language. Also notice, has she mentioned the word ADOS or the acronym ADOS once in this tweet? So she's not talking about ADOS. Not only does she not mention ADOS, does she even mention black people? She says African Americans are owed a debt, but there is no but after African Americans are owed a debt. Yvette, you taught me that. You said we're owed the debt. And you said that these other universal programs are nice, but you have to pay the reparations, or you have to pay back what you owe to the descendants of slaves first. So there is no but after African Americans are on the debt, are owed a debt. But hell, Vet Carnell had a 2 paragraph but after African Americans are owed a debt. So apparently there is a but to her, which contradicts what she says now. Coates seems more interested in the cathartic effect of getting a reparations check rather than the long-term benefit of massive redistribution from the top to the bottom. This isn't a failure of Bernie Sanders. So Bernie Sanders ain't done nothing wrong. Went back in 2016, because this is the time frame and the context in which Yvette Carnell was speaking. Not now when he's supporting HR 40, which still isn't supporting reparations. That's not a failure of Bernie Sanders or the liberal imagination. This isn't a failure of imagination at all. It's a failure to do basic math. So basically what she's saying is the basic math is that it's more beneficial to have massive redistribution from the top to the bottom with no reference or specificity to ADOS or even black people, African Americans. With no specificity. It's a fair... Ta-Nehisi Coates can't do basic math. And him wanting a... Which he didn't really want a reparation checks, because that's a whole nother side note to talk about Ta-Nehisi Coates and how he's not really in support of reparations like he seems to be. That's a side discussion. But from Yvette's perspective, Ta-Nehisi Coates does want a reparations check. That's why she's saying he wants a reparations check over Bernie's universal policies. So, I'm reading all that to read and say and close out this video. Since Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore are using Tariq's past words as a weapon and an albatross over everyone who agrees with him, and if they agree with Tariq Nasheed, that means that they agree with everything he's ever said. And there's no possibility that either they have the right to not agree with him saying that, or that Tariq has changed since he said that, or C, both have happened. Both A, people who agree with him don't necessarily agree with that. B, Tariq has changed since then. Or C, both Tariq has changed and people who agree with him now don't necessarily agree with him when he said that. None of those are possible. So that means that not only does Tariq still believe that because he said that 5-10 years ago, however long he said it, but everyone who agrees with him also agrees with that. That's why that was their fake outrage reason for checking Bishop Swan, right? So what that means is that if we're going to go by that premise, that everyone who agrees with Tariq Nasheed automatically agrees that single mothers raise B-word N-words and that they don't deserve reparations checks. That means that Yvette Carnell is admitting that the ADOS organization was a Democratic shill organization all along. She's saying we don't need a reparations check and that it's selfish and it's a failure to do basic math to prefer a reparations check over massive redistribution from the top to the bottom. So Yvette Carnell is here admitting, by attacking Bishop Swan over what Tariq Nasheed said 5 or 10 years ago, they are admitting that they're a Democratic shill organization. Because I just read to you where Yvette Carnell was supporting Bernie Sanders and attacking reparations supporters over their critique of Bernie Sanders and his failure to support reparations. And saying that it's a failure to do basic math to prefer a reparations check over massive redistribution from the top to the bottom. So there you have it, fam. Yvette Carnell, because she said that 4 years ago, and we're holding everything someone said in the past against them, she is admitting that the ADOS organization is all about supporting Bernie Sanders, and that they were a Democratic shill organization all along, and now it's no reparations, it's massive redistribution from the top to the bottom. Nothing about ADOS, it's all about massive redistribution from the top to the bottom. And anything else is a failure to do basic math. That sounds a lot like how they talk now when they say, we got the data, and you don't know enough. That sounds like the same stuff. It's a failure to do basic math. The same arrogance where you think you're so smart when in actuality you're so stupid. You think you sound so smart talking about it's a failure to do basic math. Basically, the old you was saying the new you has a failure to do basic math. That's how stupid you are. Because you're the same person, Yvette Carnell, who I heard out of your own mouth say these other universal programs are nice, but you owe the descendants of slaves first. But according to this Facebook post, saying that is a failure to do basic math. Because saying that the descendants of slaves are owed first is a failure to do basic math. That's why you want the cathartic effect of a reparations check over massive redistribution from the top to the bottom. And if it's possible that Yvette, because I know what they're going to say, Yvette didn't mean that, Yvette changed. Well, if that's the case, then that means that you're admitting that their whole outrage against Bishop Swan was not because of what Tariq said 5 or 10 years ago, but because he violated a cult doctrine of agreeing with Tariq Nasheed. But anyway, fam, that's my rant, my discussion about what's going down between Bishop Swan and the ADOS suicide organization. So anyway, fam, that's another video. Like, share, subscribe, and peace.